Alright, g'day everyone, welcome back to Prune Gaming, and welcome to a title I've been meaning to show off for some time, which is X4. There's really nothing else like this, but the easiest way to describe it would be a sandbox, sci-fi, simulated universe title that combines a little bit of Elite Dangerous, a little bit of Mountain Blade, a little bit of Star Sector, and a dozen other titles besides, because what it basically allows you to do is catapult yourself into a fully simulated universe where you have more than 100 sectors, thousands of ships, hundreds of stations, various factions vying for power and interacting with each other with a fully simulated economy, and then throws you into the middle of it to either dive into storylines, become a pirate, become a miner, a space trucker, or to climb the ranks of power until you go all the way from someone who starts in a shipbox ship with not much money to someone who is running a massive corporate or PMC empire, shaping the fate of the entire network, initiating or ending wars, shaping the way they evolve, and influencing the geopolitics of this wider simulated gate network. It's a title that really needs to be shown more than described, so what I'm going to be doing is jumping in today, and then because it's a very long game with a lot of different facets, what I'm going to be aiming to do with this playthrough is every episode showing off a different aspect of the game. So if in episode 1 we're going to do basic piloting, mission interactions, introduce a couple of storylines, maybe do some ship capturing, show off that sort of stuff, rapidly I want us to move into mining, the economy, station construction, exploration, and work our way up till potentially, if the interest is there, we develop the political opinions of our character and decide how we're going to try and reshape the economy and the outcomes of the entire gate network. When you're jumping in, after you play the tutorials, and there are a lot of tutorials for good reason, you have to pick a sandbox start. These are variable and they affect how much guidance you get, what resources you start with, what species you are, where you start, what sort of faction relations you have, and a dozen other things beside. They vary from ones where you don't have much guidance, but you start with a bunch of resources. The Unworthy Entrepreneur starts you as a profit-loving lizard with a scout ship, a transport ship, 200,000 credits, and a factory station already all up and running. Whereas at the other end of the spectrum, you can start in a literal prison cell with 0 credits as a Argon, male or female. Argons are humans, but belonging to a certain faction. So good luck with that one. The original, some throw you straight into a storyline, other, like Young Gun, basically give you a shipbox ship, a little money, and eject you into the sandbox and say, hey, go for your life, do what you want to do. We're going to start with one that I think has a lot more story potential, and is a little more guided, and that's the Terran Cadet start. So we'll be starting as a citizen of the Terran Protectorate, Earth, the government that controls our solar system. The Terrans are a very interesting faction in X4. They sort of sit apart from the other species, they're very guarded, they're very insular, they have very advanced technology, and their overwhelming goals are twofold. Firstly, to protect Earth at all costs, and secondly, to send fleets out into the wider network to fight against what are basically rogue AI former terraforming robots that are trying to ruin the entire universe. Basically, once upon a time, the Terrans created terraforming AI. Eventually, inevitably, they went rogue and decided they wanted to terraform people's faces instead. And the Terrans actively go around the gate network trying to fight against that, seeing themselves as the protectors of the network, whether everyone else likes it or not. The good thing is, this is a great story potential for our character, who you can rename later once you jump into the game. But at the start, we're going to spawn in a really basic ship in a system that will probably be familiar to all of you, but I'll let Mr. Harrigan speak.
Seeing Earth, humble origin of our species, up close. Since I was born on a trading vessel in the far orbits around Titan, the core of the solar system remains, according to Protectorate.
The Terran Protectorate does not allow people who weren't born on Earth to access it unless they earn the right to do so. Because twice in X history, at least that I can remember, Earth has been almost wiped out. So they are very security conscious, very defensive, very cautious. So if you want to fly to Earth and not be blown up in this game, you have to earn that right. And it's easier for us as a Terran cadet. In the other starts, it requires some reputation grinding until you get there. So where are we going to be spawning? In a familiar sector, Mars, and basically responsible for flying around with a wingman, Mr. Shinneman. There's the familiar red platen. Here's our starting ship, our Terran Kukri, which is a real... It looks nice, but it's a ship box of a fighter. And I'm just going to do some busy work, flying around, inspecting satellites, laying a sensor network, just doing some general busy work until things happen. And I'll introduce more of the game at that point, but I won't show this initial process of interacting with satellites. I'll bring you back in as soon as interesting things start to happen. But yeah, we start in a single-engined light fighter, which is slow, not particularly well protected, but at least it has reasonable firepower, and because of Terran technology, fairly good acceleration, boost speed, etc. But we'll talk more about those technical elements in a moment. Actually, you know what? I guess I will show this. So everything is modelled, there are no loading screens, so I can just jump out of my fighter there, the airlock door closes, I can fly over in my spacesuit rig to this satellite over here.
Satellite.
Yeah, that one's
repair it.
And it looks like it's been that way
That repair beam is a very nifty tool, comes in handy a lot in the game, especially early on when you're a cheap ass and don't want to pay people to repair your ships for you.
Damn. Just goes to show that nobody cares about.
And when I hit Shift D, you can see stations off in the distance and whatnot. Oh, there's a distress call. Shift D to request docking, opens the airlock, fly back in.
Dead in the void. I repeat.
A distress signal. Mission
Oh no, a distress signal.
We have a civilian ship signaling distress from the outskirts of the sector. Apparently they're having some sort of emergency. Engine failure. Permission to investigate.
Mars doesn't do accidents, cadet.
Of course not.
Permission granted. Proceed with caution.
Now, the game wants me to show off and practice using a long-range scanner here, which is where you send out sensor pulses like this, it flags things. But I could have used the Mark 1 eyeball in that case to say that maybe the destroyed freighter over there is the source of the distress signal. So I'll engage travel drive, hit the brakes as we approach to shed some speed, and look at that. Some xenon, so those former terraforming robots turned AI genocidal menace, hanging out around the freighter. Here we are.
Seriously, what the? Since when does Xenon send out fake distress
I know, right?
signals? Nelly.
So this is not a huge ship.
Classification. High-tech trader.
It is a freighter.
Deceased. Cargo. Classified.
Ships are generally divided into small, medium, large, and extra large. This is a large
Processing.
Okinawa-type freighter.
Processing. Permission has been denied. Investigation terminated.
Oh, there you go.
That's quite enough. Our specialists will take over from here.
Yes,
And you,
I'm looking forward to those
cadets,
specialists arriving.
We'll hear from me shortly. Dismissed.
So I'm just going to hang here for a moment for reasons.
Ukri.
Okay, I've been waiting around for a moment, and this ship has turned up. This is a Terran Katana.
Looks like we're still in Mission Command's
Oh,
good
sorry,
books.
I'll let Mr. Shinneman
They just
talk,
sent
then
us
I'll
a
address the
posting
audience.
for a border assignment.
Yep, cool. That's the next mission coming through. That can wait. I'm talking to the audience, Mr. Shinneman. Okay, so this Terran Katana has just turned up. The Katana is a very fast corvette, so a size class up from what we are. So much tougher, faster, usually designed to kill fighters, small and medium type ships, but vulnerable to capital ship weaponry because they're going to be less agile than small fighters. But a big upgrade on what we've got, and this Katana is strange for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the armament. As you can see here, this thing's got 4 Meson stream weapons as its primary weapon. The Meson stream is basically, it's a space sniper rifle in a sense, more like a sniper laser in a sense. What it gives you is a very long range, it's instant hit, is extremely high damage, so it's very, very dangerous. It'll probably one-shot kill. This armament will one-hit kill a lot of targets, but you get one shot, and then it takes a huge amount of time for the heat to bleed off and for you to fire again. So this is an assassin. This ship is configured as an extremely expensive, non-standard configuration assassin of a ship. It's turned up here at the site of let's just say a location there's a couple of things that have gone on here. We've got a freighter, which was attacked around Mars in the inner parts of the solar system, which doesn't happen. There was a fake distress signal, which shouldn't happen. There was Xenon near the wreck. Xenon shouldn't be here. And then when we went to investigate, we were told to rack off. Those are some clues. And your wingmate will flag some of this to you. This leads into the final bit of knowledge, which is a little bit meta. which is that unlike a lot of the other, just about every other ship that you can attack from the Terran Protectorate, this one won't call for help and won't cause the rest of the faction to go aggro with you if you happen to engage it. So my theory has always been, my thought of headcanon, could be a quirk of the way the game is programmed, it could be the tutorial being forgiven, but my thought has always been this is Space Blackwater. This is a cleanup team that is unofficially coming over to tidy up something that officially should not exist, and because they're not on the books, as we all know from any organization, contractors are not real people, they don't count. Why am I saying all this? Well, because I want to justify something I want to show to the audience. And if you don't want to do this, there are plenty of other places that you can go and find a ship early on. You can play this game however you want. You want to go space trucking, you want to go pirating, whatever. But I think a lot of players will generally have two key objectives when they start the game. The first is get a better ship, because you tend to start in a shit box, and the better ship you have, the faster you can travel, the more you can accomplish with your time, the harder missions you can do, etc. A better personal ship is a major upgrade. The second thing you want is a couple of million, probably, starting capital, so that you can start your first business or your first mining venture, some sort of passive income going on in the background. So, what a lot of players will do is maybe they'll do missions, maybe they'll run cargoes, but a great way to do it is to try and capture a ship and sell it or part it out or whatnot. The katana is a great candidate for that. There are this katana here. There are other places that you can go hit pirate ships. There are other places you can get freelancer katanas that aren't owned by governments. There are all sorts of pirate ships and other targets that you can go after in the game. In order to capture a ship, large and extra large ships require marines, boarding pods, all that expensive shit. We don't have access to that. But small and medium ships are much simpler. You bully them. You knock out their shields, you knock the hull down to about 70%, and then you tap them and continue to harass them until eventually the crew gives up, bails, and then you can claim and repair the ship, which is what we are about to try and do despite being massively outmatched in terms of weight class, because I think we're agile enough in this little shipbox fighter to avoid being killed by the 4 instant beams of death at the front. Sure, they can kill like a lot of much heavier ships, but you know, what's the difference between being killed 10 times over and 100 times over as far as we're concerned? So, we're going to bring down the shields, bring the hull down, try not to die, and see if we can make this ship, the Space Blackwater Assassin Corvette, ours. I'll drop a save just in case something goes wrong, and then from the ideal ambush position, which is in the underside because the katana has turrets on the top, we'll commence our engagement.
Gladia Katana.
Alright, game on. I've done this once before, but I need to record it properly this time, so let's go for it. It should go hostile in a second. There you are. I told you the katana's fast. That was just it boosting away. And it will continue to be able to boost in travel drive. Okay, the strafing control saved us there. It'll continue to be able to boost and well, it can travel drive as long as we're not shooting at it for a period of time, so we're going to have to keep tapping it. But most importantly, it can boost away as long as it has shields. So wearing those shields away is important. I'm hoping it hasn't recharged its forward guns yet. It doesn't look like it. Let's get under the turrets. It is going to continue to be frightfully annoying until we've worn that shield all the way down. But as you can see, it's burning its own shield. Okay, let's get some lateral velocity here because I imagine the mesons might be good to go. It is recharging shields. Bugger, 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 bugger. We'll talk about drift controls later. You can disable flight assist, which does enable those sort of drifting maneuvers. Okay, managed to dodge that. That was lucky. What I really need is just keep it in this sort of furball. Alright, this is better. We just don't have a huge amount of firepower, and it's got a lot of shielding to work through. But as you can see, it's a little confused at the moment, trying to maneuver its forward guns onto me again. And its ability to boost is about to be gone. Now let's bump the hull down. No, you cannot point your forward onto me. No. Done. Alright, let's see how we did. I was very lucky the first time I did this. That'll do. That'll do. Okay, so they have jumped out into their escape pod. As you can see, nobody cares. If I went and shot that Tokyo carrier over there or whatever, I would be completely obliterated. But for some reason, these people don't want to involve the authorities, don't call for help. What do you do next? Right. Okay, so we're going to jump out of our ship. Control D, stand up. Over to the spacesuit. We're going to fly over. And when you have a neutral ship like this, you'll see externally an area of sparking exposed electronics. Run over to that, hit it with the repair tool. Congratulations, Raibu Hurricane now owns this katana. Shift D requests docking permission. This is the docking hatch on the katana up top. Every ship has a docking location for your spacesuit. Fly on in, and here we go. Quite the upgrade. This is the interior of the katana. You can see what I mean about the futuristic sci-fi aesthetics. Trust me, when we see some other ships, they are much less fancy than Terran ships, but they come with the price tags to match. The Terrans have the technology in a completely different parallel economic structure, but they're not super, they're not utilitarian with their designs, let's put it that way. So we're now in control of the katana. If we go to the map, what we can see is there's a kukri over there. That's our former fighter, which is now dead in space because it doesn't have a captain. We're here in the katana. Our teammate is there in their Gladius. What we need next is to be able to go and find a wharf.
Wreck.
Because this ship desperately needs a wharf.
Microlattice factory.
That's a microlattice factory. Now, to speed things up, let's just say, where can we find a wharf? Just ask anyone who likes you, and you start off plus 10 with the Terran Protectorate as a Terran Cadet. That's the wharf over there. Shift A to activate the autopilot. Let's fly over there. I also need to get out and repair the ship with the repair tool, but let's get to the wharf first and demonstrate what we need to do. There are two types of shipyards in this game, wharfs and shipyards. Well, there are some special cases too, but generally, wharfs and shipyards. Wharfs handle small and medium ships. Shipyards handle the big boys. The largers, like freighters, large miners, destroyers, and they also handle extra largers, like fleet carriers, battleships, that kind of thing. So we'll come into dock. You can see a bunch of ships milling around. Wharfs tend to, especially as the game goes on and the economy starts to pick up, consume a lot of resources. So you'll see a lot of ships coming in and out of your average shipyard. We'll come into dock. This thing should have a good docking computer. We are on fire, but, you know, who cares? Also, to somewhat change the number plates while we're at it. So we've got to upgrade repair ships. Let's check out what's damaged, what's left. Oh, this ship took a huge amount of damage. The good news is it kept one of its guns. The Meson Stream Mark II, which survived, is worth about 5 million credits. So if we strip that off, we're clearing 4.7 mil for the transaction. If we then put pulse lasers, which are more affordable general purpose weapons on, we'll clear 3 million, replace the shield generators with 2 Terran Mark III shields. We're still getting 2 million. I like the thrusters, I like the engines. The only thing we need now are turrets. We'll put 2 pulse turrets on the top. Pulse turrets have less firepower than bolts, but they have a reasonably high projectile speed, so they're good general purpose. You can sometimes hit fighters with them. Beam turrets are instant hit, but they do crap all damage, so I don't like them. We'll also add some consumables. Satellites, oh, we don't have any room, so we'll sell most of these mines, because I don't really like mines. Sell most of those, buy some resource probes, which we can drop in asteroids to see if there's anything valuable there, buy some satellites, and that's probably all she wrote. So, we will get a fully equipped Corvette and about 2.5 million credits in the bank. That'll take a minute. So while they're working on the ship, we can get up and have a walk around the station because we need some help. After all, we have a spare ship. We need someone to fly it, and I probably want some crew for this one as well. You can see that they are assembling slowly those pulse lasers. So, There are people just milling around the station. You'll see these on most stations, and yes, the scale of this game is real. What you're looking for, when you walk up to someone, you'll see how good they are at stuff, represented by stars.
Hello there.
You want to find someone, you might think, hey, I want to find someone super talented. Nah, because people in X4 want to be paid what they are worth. So let me just see if we can find someone super good. No, none of them around.
Good luck out there.
Super talented people can easily cost like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million credits to fire. You, at the start of the game, you want to find someone who could not pass the OH&S test at Macca's. Like, someone who missed out on internships 12 years in a row. So,
Hello there.
Miss Anderson here for 5,000 credits is a reasonable pick. And she can fly, she can become captain of the Katana.
I will do my best to justify your faith in me.
No, I'm hiring you specifically because you were incompetent. So I have very little faith in you, but you don't ask for much. So you're hired. And if I remember correctly, this bloke over here, Charles Ueda,
Hello there.
he's even cheaper, only slightly. He can go captain the cookery.
I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. All right, fantastic. So we now have captains. What that means is I can go click on my cookery. And while I'm doing whatever I'm doing in the Katana, whoops, I can have it start to explore, fly around. I could order it to attack enemies, escort targets, whatever. It's basically now an asset in the RTS mode. I could give it an explore command, but especially low-tier pilots tend to be absolutely stupid when it comes to exploring, so I'd literally just tell them how a spiral works instead. And then we'll have him drop some satellites, which give you sensor coverage and allow you to stay up to date with what a station is buying and offering and for how much. Sorry, station announcer is talking. The stations are the core of the economic structure in the game. Stations produce goods out of raw materials, or intermediate goods, if you're talking about more advanced goods, and they demand things in turn. So this factory over here is producing food, and it's buying energy cells and protein paste in order to make that. This wharf wants supplies that you build ships out of. The economies of the Terran type's economies are very different from the other factions. The Commonwealth factions on one side, even though they're at war with each other, even though not all, there are some wars going on. There are very different ship designs, very different strengths and weaknesses, very different species. They all generally build stuff out of the same stuff, the standard universal economy. So you build a ship out of hull parts and weapon parts and advanced electronics and all of these different goods that come together in order to produce stuff. Dozens of different types of goods. The Terrans, by contrast, basically build everything out of 3 materials. 3 very advanced sci-fi materials: computronic substrate, metallic microlattice, and silicon carbide, with computronic substrate basically being, if we quickly look at the game's encyclopedia, the advanced Terran version of programmable matter. So they just tell the substrate what they want it to be, basically. What this means is the Terran economy is much more sci-fi and much more flexible. You can run out of individual goods. You can have logistics breakdowns in the Commonwealth economies, where in the Terran economy, thank you, station announcer, everything is built out of the same stuff. Stations are built out of those 3 materials. Ships are built out of those same 3 materials. So it's much more flexible, sometimes quicker. The disadvantage is it's much more resource intensive and expensive. Pound for pound, building something the Terran way, the easy way, is going to be much more expensive and require much more raw material input than the Commonwealth way. Building stuff the hard way is cheap. Building stuff the easy way is fast and expensive. And you know what? We'll explore the Terran economy first in this playthrough, given that's how we've started. Anyway, that was me buying time for the ship to be fixed up. We should now be ready to go. You can see my captain has now taken her chair, and just to demonstrate, I can take the chair and take control, and I will in a moment, but I can issue her the instruction to take us off. And we will exit entirely under our own power. Although, trust, especially if you're going to be into combat, I would trust your own skills 99 times out of 100 over a 1-star AI pilot. Looks like we're accidentally flying in formation with 2 small courier ships as we do so. There we are. Especially since the AI likes to fly safe.
Katana.
None of that.
Sorry, I'm busy right now.
Yes, I know, she's going to finish her undocking procedure. Then I'm going to take the chair. Thank you. My chair now. And I'm going to give us a little bit of speed. As you can see, tad more mobile. What I'm going to do, at this stage I could go enjoy the sandbox for a bit, I could take some missions, I could explore the universe, but what I'm actually going to do is jump out, repair the hull, before, you know, we get into another fight, and pick up the next mission, fighting with the Soulborn Militia. Alright, all repaired. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time optimizing exploration and things like that, because as I said, I did play a little bit ahead, not knowing I was going to be recording, so I'm re-recording the segment in a new run, and then I'll jump forward to my actual save. And the universe is, to an extent, the sandbox is randomized with a new seed every time you start a new game. So stations are in different positions. Factions find themselves in different situations and things play out differently. So we're not going to worry too much about things in that respect. What we are going to do is go to mission offers and take the Defenders of Soul mission. This signs us up to go work alongside the Soulborn Militia. The Terran Protectorate's military is split into a couple of different components. I'll let Mission Command introduce it first.
You would jump at this opportunity. Do not disappoint me.
Ma'am, understood.
Alright. So the Terran military is divided into a couple of components. You have the closest thing to what we would consider as a conventional expeditionary military. That's intervention. They have war fleets. They go out into the rest of the gate network. They find Xenon and they kick the Xenon in the face as hard as they can, as repeatedly as they can. Then you find police and sector defense forces that defend Terran territory itself. You'll encounter a lot of those. And then there's the Soulborn Militia, basically a foreign legion. So this is something that Terrans that aren't born on Earth can join, members of other who weren't born in Sol at all can join. I believe aliens can definitely join because it allows you to join even if you take a different start and you are a Talati or a Split or whatever. There are questions. Anyway, we'll come back to that in a moment. Cutscene is playing. Border security Terran style.
Please divert your course.
This is Talati Trader Lucrative Investments to Terran Patrol. We are looking for mutual opportunities to make profits.
We are not interested. We insist that you divert your course.
But we can surely achieve mutual benefit from...
Negative. We demand that you change course immediately.
Maybe we can persuade you with valuable information about...
I love how the Talati thinks that if he just talks about the profitability of interstellar trade, border security will let him through.
Okay.
Like, mate, the border security guys don't benefit just because you have profitable trading activity.
Loss of opportunity are split equally between each of us.
They don't get anything out of letting you through. It's their job to send you away, mate. Anyway, that was the Talati being the Talati. The lizards are neutral with just about everyone, and they sure do love a profitable trade. But yes, the Soulborn Militia, there's questions over why it's being formed and what it does, but it's a storyline that you can do even if you don't do the Terran Cadet start, because you can sign up as a member of another species. It's basically a foreign legion, or in Roman terms, it's almost like an auxiliary unit. Anyway, we're going to fly over to the station where our job will be to escort a transport through the gate out of the Sol system into the neighbouring system, which is going to appear over here in a moment, called Getsu Fune. And as you can see as we fly in, there is more than a little bit of activity. We've got an Osaka class destroyer, a Tokyo class, let's have a close look at that. It's a Tokyo class fleet carrier. You can have multiple squadrons of fighters carried inside those things, escorting gunboats, corvettes. That's a Honshu. It's a resupply and auxiliary ship with a big solar sail for maximum drip points, I imagine. And then a bunch of destroyers getting ready to go through the gate as well. Looks like a bunch of Osakas, supported by a Tokyo carrier
Sin.
and a Sin. Sin is a old school heavy destroyer.
Militia business that's been all over the news. Some say it's because of increased xenon activity. Others that it's some sort of publicity stunt, or even a political power play against the intervention corps. Well, I'm not one to complain. Not this time, anyway.
Well,
Whatever gets us in High Command's good books, eh?
the question you have to ask, Mr. Shinneman, is who is starting the Soulborn Militia?
Militia,
Our good friend in
squadron,
Mission
and
Command,
foreign
who I'll let talk.
auxiliaries. By coming here, you have already made Earth proud.
Yes, ma'am.
Captain, the ball is in your court.
Much obliged. This is Captain Nowak Lee of the Military Supply Transport Silverback. Another welcome from me and my crew, and glad to see the militia is keeping its promises. All squadrons, prepare for liftoff.
I'll talk about that in a moment. Alright, let's fall into formation with this transport ship. Because every Okinawa freighter we encounter so far has had such good luck. When a small or medium ship gets close to a large or an XL, you fall into its sphere of influence, which means that even if I do nothing, I will station keep with it as it changes of velocity and direction. This is very useful for holding close formation with a large friendly ship. It's also useful if you get close to a large enemy ship and you want to, say, strafe around blowing off individual turrets or shield components without getting hit. Also very useful in that regard. Anyway, we fall in information with this freighter. He'll probably want to take us through a gate. But yes, that red ship that I destroyed around the station. Occasionally when you're hovering around space stations, there will be rogue drones or criminals will hijack drones or shuttles or whatnot, smuggling activity, something. And they'll try and flee the station or get away or whatnot, and the station will kindly ask anyone in the vicinity to intervene, shooting those criminals, because, you know, there's nothing quite like summary capital punishment, is a great way to increase your reputation with factions, even if they won't let you dock at their stations and trade with them or things like that. As you can see, the other fighters are falling into formation as well. Those are kukris, the ones we were flying at the start. I'll let us maneuver towards the gate while the force starts to group up around this transport. As you can see, they increasingly are. Alright, so these are the gates. The gate network is put together by some ancient unknown species. Well, unknown to the main factions in the game. You can look it up in the lore and discover secrets through the timeline scenarios as well. But generally speaking, these allow instantaneous transportation between connected gates. No faction in the universe has ever been able to build one of these gates, one of the main factions, other than the Terrans. The Terrans have been able to manufacture gates. They're just very nervous about travel in general because they are a little bit, shall we say, worried about interacting too much with the wider network.
Xenon on fast approach.
Alright, transport's gone through the gate. We have left Sol, and would you know, Xenon ambush. That said, this should be a little bit easier than our first fight because we've gotten a little bit of a ship upgrade. And as you can see, our firepower levels are significantly higher now. Although we do maneuver a little bit more like a brick, we have a lot more firepower and shielding available to us. Oh, the other thing I need to remember to do, take my turrets. I like attack fighters first. That'll cause the guns on the top of my ship to automatically engage targets, which means that even if I'm not able to get them into my sights, I might be able to destroy them. You can see those pulse turrets are engaging now. Fantastic. Let's target him, go into steering mode. So by default, you have to click the mouse button to maneuver, so you can use the mouse to select. Hitting a shift space changes it, so any mouse movement forces you to instantly maneuver. Much easier way to fly. And if you're wondering why I seem so nonchalant about taking fire from these guys, it's because if you look at that shield bar, they aren't scratching me. A lot of Xenon ships, at least their fighters, thrive based on numbers. They're very simple to construct, but they do not have the firepower to deal with something like the Katana. Especially one modified the way ours is, with two of the best medium-type shield generators in the game. Different factions tend to have different strengths on their components, and there are sometimes trade-offs, but just in general, Terran shields, especially Terran Mark III shields, pretty much just the best there is in every respect except for cost. Like so many things Terran, it's pretty glitzy, it's pretty high quality, it's pretty expensive. And we're heading out towards that outpost. So we've left Sol, we've left the asteroid belt. Our guy must have been asleep in like Space Geography 101 because apparently he doesn't know how the various Earth gates, Sol gates rather, connect to one another. But our cookery will figure that out. But you can go to Mercury, and out this way is the rest of the solar system. Earth and Luna out this way. Getsu Fune, however, is an interesting one. This is the sector that we are expanding into, and we're setting up shop in.
Factory.
This
Why?
is your captain speaking.
I'll let
On
Mr.
behalf
Lee,
of the crew of
Captain Lee, talk
Silverback,
first.
I would like to thank you for your continued support during these turbulent episodes. We should be able to manage the last leg of our route without further interruptions.
Fantastic. Alright, well then I'll fly towards the station myself then.
Piece of cake.
This storyline
Command hasn't stolen
basically just
mercenaries,
highlights the sort of things that will be going on in the background anyway. Getsu Fune, for example, is a neutral sector. It's considered neutral by some of the neighbouring factions, including the neighbouring human factions, the Antigone Republic and the Argon Federation. We'll talk about the politics and the history of these all eventually. But it starts as a neutral sector, but right now you can see the Terrans are rolling in
Oh, now would you look at that?
and building a station with defensive platforms. You can see those large turrets out there.
Wonder what the rest of the network has
That
to
will
say
also
about
include an
that.
admin.
Anyway, following protocol, I'm guessing that the next logical
Anyway,
step
I'm going to do some stuff and I'll finish that thought. Because they're going to ask me to lay a minefield, so I will quickly lay a defensive minefield around this station, and then I'll explain what's going on. Alright, we've laid the minefield.
What's up, Nelly?
What is up indeed?
Oh man, yeah. Always tell
suspiciously close to our outpost.
senior commanding
A
officers,
nav beacon
just
with
always
no
tell them what
apparent
up. They
owner
love
or
it. It's
purpose.
never
Investigate.
career limiting.
But keep quiet about it.
Like,
Nav beacon.
if you walk into a room, like, there's a 3-star sitting down there, just open with what up. Always goes down really, really well. Okay, so we've discovered this nav beacon here, which we've been told to investigate, is owned by the Yaki.
Is Yaki?
The Yaki are a pirate organization,
Never heard of that guy. Strange. I
which
could've
Shinneman
sworn
didn't
there was
apparently
some
pick up at
sort
school.
of
I'm getting the idea that
signal at first.
we didn't do many academics at this
I'm
this war
afraid
college.
we'll have to postpone your secret mission. Our scanners have picked up an approaching Xenon vessel.
Okay, oops.
Saddle up and join the defenses.
That we can do. See a Xenon on sensors.
T.
Xenon T. That's a scout from memory. Got it.
Wait, that's a scout.
Hit it so it
Take
can't
out before it's
travel drive.
and it's gone.
No, it's not. It's dead.
All squadrons, prepare to launch.
And more incoming.
We have an incoming Xenon strike force. Engage when ready.
Looks like we got a bunch of fighters and something a little bit heavier.
By the sun. What could be
I've
more
got the firepower to
important
kill
than
the bigger one, so let's open with it. The turrets will look intimidating, but our shields can absolutely take it. So as we fend these guys off, who suspiciously have turned up again. So yeah, factions have their own strategic logic. And in the case of this setup, this is a neutral sector, which is strategically important for the Terrans. So they'll move into it for story reasons, but factions are also capable of taking sectors and whatnot, not usually particularly quickly, but their strategic logic will cause them to build ships, deploy ships and whatnot in response to changing circumstances. This sector is important because it neighbours, it controls a gate that heads directly into the asteroid belt, so the Sol system. This jump gate here heads directly into the Sol system, and there's another jump gate over here that heads directly into a Xenon-controlled sector. So your two choices if you do not want Earth to get smacked by the Xenon, or Sol to get smacked by the Xenon, is either to wait until they enter the asteroid belt of our solar system, or you can put a defense station here and a militia outpost here, and start to bottle up Getsu Fune itself, so that they never get to the inner layer of defenses around the asteroid belt. So the Terrans are moving in for pretty obvious reasons. It also bottles the Xenon up in their sector and prevents them moving into the rest of the network. So it makes a degree of sense. That doesn't mean it's politically popular with some of the other factions.
Your enthusiasm here, but there seems to be a commotion.
This is outrageous.
Speaking of the devil, civilians.
Stand down, citizen. This sector is vital to the defense of Sol and the entire gate network. Given time, the Antigone Republic will certainly see the benefits of our protection.
Nonsense! This is a military occupation of neutral grounds. Damage my ship, hurt my crew, and everyone will see you as the oppressors you really are.
Chick show, that bumbling is about to waltz right into our minefield. Any squads in the vicinity?
Sorry, I'm just jumping the gun there.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a relief. Quickly, slow down that ship without injuring its crew. We cannot have another diplomatic meltdown this soon. And get me the Chief Secretary on the line pronto.
You heard the commander. I'll follow your lead. Oh, this isn't gonna be pretty.
Alright, so we have a large mining ship going to fly into a minefield.
Thank you.
It won't like being shot at, but it also won't like dying, so we're going to engage the engines. And then get out of line of sight of its turrets, because we don't want to get shot in the process.
Job well done, squad.
And he thinks we're scum, because we've saved him from running his ship headfirst into a minefield.
You are not troublemakers. You are problem solvers. Our neighbors might not see it that way.
This is a structure under construction.
Depends on people like you. People like us, who won't hesitate to do what's necessary. Now I need you two on standby while I sort out this diplomatic mess.
Alright, and what they're building here is an admin tower. Admin towers enable you to claim sectors. It's how factions do it, and also eventually you can do it yourself too. If you build an admin tower and install your bureaucrats of your company or PMC in a neutral sector, it will flip over to your control. But that's, we can talk about that concept, but that's potentially many episodes down the line. But yeah, sector ownership is determined by whoever has a admin tower. If two or more sides have one, whoever built it first has control until they lose it, and things go from there.
I've taken the liberty of marking the nearest station for you. If you think you're already set, just let me know.
So Mr. Shinneman wants us to go upgrade our engines. We already have the best engines available, so I'm going to tell him nah and jump into the next stage of the mission straight away. But yeah, that's basically the storyline here. New military organization of Irregulars founded, movement into a neutral sector which we are securing for the Protectorate. We're building defense platforms, militia outposts, in order to contain the neighboring Xenon from being able to get either into the Sol sector or travel through gates further south into the other human factions, Antigone and Argon, and I suppose by extension the rest of the gate network. The other species are out in that direction too. The map is much larger than you can initially zoom out to. There's like more than 100 sectors, I believe. I think significantly more, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, I'm going to tell my wingmate over here that my engines are fine and move on. Alright, aborting that mission allows us to do wartime economics. Alright, let's set active, so we need to report for duty, we're already there. And then apparently we need to scout for Xenon infrastructure.
All set? Then let's pay the outpost another visit and see what Mission Command has in store for us.
Well then, recruits. As a reward for your commitment, let me paint you a bigger picture. High Command may not like it, but if we continue to face the Xenon head-on, scouring the network with imposing fleets, heroically putting out fires wherever they flare up, we are bound to lose this war. Do not misunderstand. The Intervention Corps is indispensable, both as long arm of the Protectorate and winged savior alike. However, This eternal meat grinder of clashing fleets cannot be a permanent solution. To truly beat the Xenon in a war of attrition, it is paramount that we instead thwart their infrastructure wherever possible. Those parasites are lurking at the edges of our sectors, avoiding our defenses and ciphering off our resources. I am putting you on scouting duty. Report any sightings of Xenon infrastructure units directly to me.
So the Xenon in this have a functioning economy just like the other factions. Theirs is even simpler than the Terrans.
See, the Xenon might appear as an unstoppable and unknowable force at first glance, but the way they wage war isn't so different from us.
Ooh, it's a
Like
junior
us, they
officer
rely
with
on their scouts
ideas.
to gauge their enemy's strength and send an appropriate force to deal with them. But unlike us, they're simple-minded machines. It's all action-reaction. So, if we attack a scout somewhere in no man's space,
We can divert their forces, potentially leaving their infrastructure units unprotected. Apologies. I just happen to be still listening in. You may go ahead with your plan, but be warned. The Xenon are not just simple machines. They're erratic, unpredictable, deadly. Stay alert at all times.
yes, ma'am.
Alright, so we're going to do this trap
Down a nice spot for our operation.
to lure away some Xenon defenders and then go murder some of their mining craft.
The sector. A satellite might serve as bait and help us spot incoming scouts at a distance.
But the underlying logic of this plan makes sense, again, to try and introduce you to a concept in the universe, which is the Xenon have a functioning economy too. And to be fair, X4 can be a little bit like part alien invasion simulator as well. The Xenon will invade sectors. They can develop and become more active over time, they can build up, and they can do a lot of damage, potentially, depending on the way the game plays out. And one of the things that affects how many ships they're able to build and how active they are able to be is what the status of their economy is. And what the mission command is basically highlighting is the fact that if you're saying you want to fight a war of attrition against self-replicating AI bots that are able to build stuff out of very basic materials and at scale, even if they're not individually as dangerous as your ships, you need to be a little bit creative, otherwise you might not win that war long-term going on. Which is why one of the objectives of this playthrough will be to want to boost the Terran economy so that it is capable of fielding enough ships to potentially, where I heard the sound, there should be a Xenon.
There!
Where? There!
T.
We might miss this one, but that's okay. Kill the travel drive. Boost. Boost. Nah, just missed it. Ah well, that's okay. We'll want to boost the Terran economy so that they can build the sort of fleets necessary to go out and continue fighting the Xenon without losing that war of attrition. Plus potentially any other enemies that the Terrans either find or we find for them. Alright, there are some mining robots out there. I'm going to go shoot them and then see what great ideas Shinvan has next. So I'd like to imagine this is a pretty formative experience for Lieutenant Harrigan. He's just out of the academy, and the first thing he finds out is just outside of Sol, you've got Xenon hanging around one sector away from the asteroid belt. That's got to be pretty confronting in terms of the danger of everything. Oh look! A bunch of Xenon were hanging around another one of these suspicious beacons belonging to a pirate organization. Alright, so apparently we need to find the source of the signal, which we will do in just a moment.
Empty space.
Looks like there's another one over there, right next to a gate. And you can guess where that gate leads. Are you starting to put two and two together yet?
Nav beacon.
Alright, so our wingman seems to think it's a great idea for us to go through this gate into a neighbouring Xenon sector in order to follow the trail of these beacons, and obviously nothing can go wrong in doing so. Alright, here we are in a Xenon sector. Not exactly comfortable being here, but it is what it is.
And they form a trail.
I'm going to dump an advanced satellite to give me some sense of view.
I'm right
Power
behind
plant, defense platforms, etc. Fun times.
Right
Let's
behind you.
follow this breadcrumb of beacons.
Right behind you.
Oh, g'day. I'm reckoning the bloke with the face cybernetics is not the friendliest ever. Gotta love a pirate organisation having conversations between two people on Claire. Fantastic. Okay, I was just heading back and creepy scream. So we meet cybernetic pirates. One seems crazy. Weird scream sound.
Return to base immediately.
And we're being told to head back to base immediately, and I do not need to be asked twice. The other thing I've noticed is our wingman does appear to have disappeared. Looks like the Terran battle group that was in the sector is also turning around. Hopefully they do so, because we'll be able to use them to defend the outpost, I imagine. Because there's an Osaka, there's a destroyer there. And I'm not taking the foot off the pedal. We are travel driving all the way back.
If entering system.
Autopilot there. There's our wingman's ship. He has apparently been kidnapped or ejected by the plot.
And where is your squad mate?
Like I said, he's been kidnapped by the plot. However, I will honour his memory by looting his issued equipment later on. And especially if you didn't get another ship like the Katana or whatnot earlier, the Gladius he's flying is considerably better than your starting ship. More firepower, much more protection, and even though it's heavier, it's got more engine, so it still has more speed and performance to it. Alright, we're in travel drive. It looks like the battle group's actually doing a decent job of intercepting some of the Xenon ships that are coming through, so we may not have as many hostiles as we might otherwise have, but there does seem to be a whole bunch of them moving in on the outpost. So, it's on like Donkey Kong.
Use the station as cover.
Station guns are active, steering mode active.
No matter what's coming at us.
Let's line them up. Now, we're not particularly manoeuvrable, but turrets are active. I think we stay close to the station and just focus our fire where we can, and keep an eye out for anything particularly threatening. The station guns are going to do pretty well against anything in the medium category, so I'll try and swap some fighters, but let's kill this pig first, without accidentally shooting the station. Not that I imagine it will much mind, given its shield strength. No, I don't want to dock, thank you.
Kyushu.
Okay, we have a Kyushu, that's not much help. Oh, that's a bunch of red on the map incoming. Okay. Alright, let's join our colleagues.
Docking aboard PEM.
I want to focus on the fighter type stuff. There we are, M. Because they're going to be harder for the station guns to hit. They're still going to be dangerous, and our guns are going to chew them up. Looks like we have a 7-minute time limit. Nice. A bit close for the guns to converge there, but that's okay. We're in sort of in the middle of the swarm at the moment. They haven't broken formation. If we can get them to break formation, that's great. If they don't break formation, we'll get some kills before they do. M's a slightly heavier fighter, I believe. The real heavy fighters are the Eps. Really like to find one of those if we can, because I believe you can disable them and potentially capture them. As you can see, there are so many of them, they don't care that any of them are being picked off, they just want to engage the defenders around the station, and that's alright. You can see the turrets are engaging too. I do have some laser turrets on board, some deployable point defense systems, so as you can see I can sort of throw them out the hatch at the top of the ship, and they should add some additional local firepower. I can collect them after battle if they survive. They cost a bit of money, but I imagine it'll just help us swap some flies. Plus it'll add to the disco show. all those red laser beams you can see now are coming from those turrets, which is good for point defense operations like this one. I generally prefer them to mines. Mines are obviously completely disposable, whereas there is a small chance your laser towers survive, especially in an environment like this one where I imagine they're not the first priority for Xenon targeting. Okay, let's swing it around. I love the engine performance on the Katana. I will show you another ship, potential early ship for the Terran Cadet if you have some additional DLC later this episode. But for the moment, this feels really good. You just have to understand you're not going to be, it is a bit of a brick in terms of maneuverability, but speed, firepower, shielding, it has those in droves. I think that was two Xenon crashing into each other. Nice. Jesus, so many of them. I could look at the map to try and get a quick idea of how many ships are engaged, but I have a feeling the answer is just going to be lots, or at least lots by the standard of an early game battle. By the standards of a later game, what we might see, this is like nothing. We can get into some truly CPU melting shit later on, potentially, if people enjoy the series, but for the moment, this is pretty intense for episode 1. I don't consider these PEs particularly dangerous to me. They don't have enough firepower for it. They take a little while to chew through, but they're definitely going down. Alright, we have 3 minutes remaining to clear this up. I haven't seen any Xenon capital ships. That would be my real concern. Something like a K or, heaven forbid, an I. Alright, I'll keep an eye out for Xenon capital ships. Alright, I've got one on scanners, Xenon K. Everyone's swarming it, thankfully, because we have managed to clear out the fighters.
Autopilot engaged.
So, this is a Xenon K. These things do not mess around.
Docking aborted.
Xenon capital ships, compared to our capital ships.
K.
Compared to our capital ships, these things are serious, serious business. Like, it's taking a lot of fighter firepower at the moment, but they are larger, and they have considerably more firepower and punch than destroyers from most other factions in the game. Their one weakness in that respect is that these those graviton turrets, they have 2 weaknesses. One is those turrets, which hit incredibly hard, have relatively short ranges compared to a lot of the other weapons that might be available to you and others. And the second thing is, they do have this blind spot on the top. Now, we can't hurt it, we have nowhere near enough firepower to get through the shields. We might be able to pick off some sub-elements, some hull elements, do some damage. Just have to do this very carefully.
Turret.
If you're wondering what I mean, on larger ships and stations, sub-elements like engines, turrets, etc. have independent shield generators that can independently target it. So, if I get the right angle, I could potentially shoot at the engines of this thing without being engaged by the turrets that could, destroy me. But I think the priority for me is actually going to be to engage, if I can, this graviton turret. Although I think it's turning around to face me. Here it is. So let's hug the top of the creature here. Give it a reassuring embrace. I'm going to dump some extra... Oh, I don't have any laser towers left. That is unfortunate. Do I have any mines on board? Whoops. I do, but not enough. I do, but not enough to make a dent, which I remembered as I was looking. So I think what I'm going to do is get a blast out of the safe zone. Hook around. And unfortunately, I think we're going to time out, because we do not have enough firepower to bring this thing down in time. I believe it can be done, and it leads to a
Okay.
slightly different story outcome. But fortunately, it's not going to be in range of the station long enough to inflict too much damage, I hope. That was a glancing hit from one of those two that took off about half of our shields. Like I said, firepower-wise, these things do not mess around, and this is not the most powerful capital ship the Xenon have. This is entry level. That said, I have a feeling it is about to get fried because the time limit is about to end, meaning intervention is about to come and steal all the credit when we destroyed literally everything except for the capital ship.
Long may the sun shine.
Long may the sun shine indeed. And that's what happens when an entire carrier wing of Meson stream attacked corvettes opens up on a destroyer.
All squadrons, recruits, defenders of Sol, show intervention what we are capable of, and eliminate those.
No need, the stragglers are already gone. It was literally just the destroyer that was left.
Except for you, recruit. I'm adding you to the admission list to Maya headquarters. We have a few things to talk about.
Alright, that's exactly what we will go do. That is the destroyed remnants of a Xenon K. And I have mission command to go talk to after I show some respect to my missing wingman by looting his issued property.
Forward range
Alright,
transporter.
we've recovered the Gladius and I want to change back over to the Katana. So let's just land this thing. This is a heavy fighter, Gladius heavy fighter, 4 guns. It's got more firepower, about twice the shielding of the Kukri. It's also considerably faster because despite the extra mass firepower, shield, etc., it also happens to pack twice as much engine, so it does get up and go. It also has this cool feature where it raises its wings for landing and stowage, which is useful particularly in carrier arrangements. We can jump over to the Katana, jump on board, and fly back to talk to Mission Command. Okay, brief pit stop on the way back, just to provide one other potential quick start tip if you're not in the mood for capturing ships immediately. One of the best ways to upgrade ships is to capture one, another is to buy them, another is to explore the universe and find them. The wider X4 map is full of plenty of ships that are usually damaged off the beaten path that you can potentially discover. Some of them are potentially quite valuable, but sometimes it requires quite some effort to extract them. If you have the Timelines DLC, which is the most recent DLC, then completing it, or completing some of its missions, can also cause ships to spawn, usually historical vessels from the past X universe. I don't want to spoil the storyline, just explaining that's why the ship in question is where it is. You will get a mission to show you where those ships are spawning, and then you can potentially go and discover them. Some, as we might see later in this playthrough, can require a lot of effort to get to, others not so much. So what I've discovered here, just as another potential starter vessel, and not a bad one, is that here in Getsufune,
Odachi.
there is a damaged Terran Adachi. This is an old school Terran corvette, so a historical vessel, and as you can see, it looks a lot more like you might expect an early human warship to look like. It is optimized for the task. It doesn't have that sort of Star Trek aesthetic that some of the later Terran vessels do. As you'll see from the inside, it's got a little bit of a different feel to it, and it's still equipped with some very potent, again I don't want to spoil too much of the story or the background, some very potent weapon systems. So, and eventually you can replicate some of these historical vessels, but that's a question for another episode. So we've claimed this one. Let's get docking permission and go inside. And as you can see, very different aesthetic. Old school Terran warship. Cockpit and control system.
Odachi.
And what have we got equipped? We have electromagnetic turrets, so we'll attack fighters first, old school electromagnetic cannons, and 4 forward firing electromagnetic guns as well. The Katana should be docking. Let's remove all orders. I'm not sure which ship we'll use going forward, but let's go dock and wait the Katana.
Autopilot. Engage.
And I'm going to fly the Odachi out that way as well. Compared to the Katana, the Odachi has a bit, compared to my version of the Katana, the Odachi has less shielding, although you can potentially resolve that issue later on. More firepower but lower projectile velocity, lower speed, and much, much more agility. This thing does not maneuver like a brick, it maneuvers almost like a fighter, so it's a far more agile, almost lighter Corvette. Anyway, this is just something I wanted to illustrate. You can go out into the universe, find and salvage damaged ships, and use them as another way to get yourself started, although I would advise, just for your own game experience, if you don't know where they are, if you haven't found them before, maybe don't go look up those locations immediately. There's a lot of fun finding them, accessing them, gaining access to them without just knowing exactly where to look and how to evade all the hazards. But again, play the game the way you want to play it. Let's head back and talk to Mission Command. Alright, we're coming into dock next to the Katana, and as you can see, the Adachi is the much smaller, lighter, more agile ship, although it does have a lot of firepower and protection.
We're pleased to welcome you aboard.
I might go upgrade it off screen, just in case I'm going to be using it. We can exit using an elevator, rather than just using the teleporter, or rather the tube elevator or whatever it is. So nice little way to exit the ship, and let's go find Mission Command. There you go, Secret Service Bureau. Well, that gives a little bit of a clue as to what Mission Command's game might be, and why we needed permission to access. In we come. Very good, all the screens are off. Good security procedure when a new person's coming into the room, although not sure what Miss Watanabe here is doing with all the screens off, but let's talk to Mission Command, shall we?
Recruit, it's good to see you're still in one piece. Apologies for the harsh welcome earlier.
Understandable.
Communications cut off as soon as you engage those Xenon infrastructure units.
Alright, I'm going to get my debrief and then see what she's got for me.
Having no vision on my
First thing though, let's issue a report.
There's no need for a detailed report, Recruit. My staff have already extracted your ship logs the moment you arrived.
An organization that doesn't need me to issue reports.
That what you have
I'm
witnessed is of the utmost concern to the Protectorate. But that is only half of the reason why I called you here personally.
I'm guessing you have a job for me.
You have displayed unquestionable obedience and clarity of mind in the most stressful of situations.
Why, thank you.
And distinguished yourself as a defender of Saul in even the darkest hours of our operation.
I did mug Space Blackwater steal their ship, but then I did use it to great effect against the Xenon, so yes.
Refusal is not an option.
But okay, we're now a special operative, I'll take it.
Some of your questions. If you have any. No classified subjects, though.
Alright, I'll ask a bunch of questions, but I'm just going to ask about the diplomacy one first, and then we'll go, where do you go from here?
That was an unfortunate confrontation, to
say the least. What does Antigone say about all this?
We came close to a debacle, but I was ultimately able to smooth things over with the Secretary of the Antigone Republic.
And that is a huge clue right there.
With the rest of the Gate Network, we will always attempt to show ourselves from our best angle. But make no mistake, Earth will not allow herself to be abused or threatened.
And here you're having that sort of defensive, almost paranoia come through, because I'm not sure if I've hinted, but in this universe, Earth has come very close to being wiped out on at least 2 occasions, I believe. So they are deeply paranoid and protective of Earth, which is why they have all those access controls, hence the militarization, hence the suspicion. It's explanatory as to a lot of what we see about how the Protectorate operates. The interesting thing she said there is that she was able to smooth things over with the Secretary of the Antigone Republic. So, you have the head of the Terran Secret Service, or a head of the Secret Service, who is organizing a foreign legion independently of the regular intervention corps, and is able to directly conduct diplomacy with foreign leaders relating to Terran military operations in formerly neutral territory, now Terran territory. I think that tells you a lot about her political position and the role the Secret Service plays in the overall Protectorate politics and interactions with the rest of the Gate network. Anyway, I'll ask these other questions. If there's anything interesting, I'll include them. Otherwise, where do we go from here? The answer, other than some interesting political observations that basically align with what I was just hinting, is where do we go from here? Basically, the Soulborn Militia is about giving non-citizens, non-Earthborn a place, a way to feel invested, and also a resource, like everything you would expect. Where do I go from here?
I must say that I am hesitant to send you away again so soon. But since you're asking, there might indeed be something to help take your mind off these unfortunate events. That is, if you think you're ready.
Absolutely.
I see. No time to waste, right? Now,
I have 2 Corvettes. I'm ready to go.
I would like to talk to you about this so-called Project Genesis. That's the codename of a top-secret operation that the Sagaris pioneers are cooking up. We certainly know more about it than they would like, but we remain in the dark when
I'll
it
talk
comes
about the
to their
Sagaris pioneers
ultimate
next
goal.
episode.
We do know that it involves a facility in their space
Because I
with
think
an
it's going to shape
unknown
our
purpose.
character's view of the world a bit.
Fortunately for us, there seems to have been an incident, and the station was evacuated until repairs could be carried out. This is a short-lived opportunity to gather intel. As such, we've taken action to inject false security documents into a Pioneer database.
Okay.
Congratulations, Operative. You're now a qualified Pioneer engineer first class.
Mate, quickest engineering degree ever.
One of their engineering teams to repair that facility. During the operation, gather whatever information you can, but use your discretion. Just follow along with their instructions and you'll be fine. The team is gathering in Neptune.
Neptune. Awesome. Okay, so I think that's probably where we'll leave. We've got a bit of a shift change going on here. Awesome. So there we are. Welcome to X4. I've shown off piloting, basic RTS controls for other ships that you control, how to capture a ship, how to salvage a ship, so basic small unit and medium unit combat where you're flying an individual vessel. Next episode, we'll continue the story a bit, and I'll introduce probably a little bit about exploration, some very basic base building, some of the other factions, reputation. Not sure how far we'll get, but we'll introduce some new systems next episode if people are interested. And then the idea is every installment introduce a new system, a new layer to this game, because trust me, the rabbit hole goes deep, and we are a long way from the empire building, galaxy manipulating phase of the game, if you like. I do hope you enjoyed this title. It's very close to my heart. I greatly enjoy playing it. And just, it's good to be back in general. So, the very best wishes to all of you. I hope to see you again soon.